Hey everyone, Dom here. Here are some quick reminders before the start. Jay is no longer working at Troma Entertainment. Sad to say, this means he is not going to Tromathon in Pennsylvania this month. We'd like to remind you again that we have a Patreon page. For $1 a month, you could listen to the future ad-free episodes 3 days early before the public release, have access to Jay's notes, and secret group screenings organized by Jay himself. That said, enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, this is another episode of Reanimate This Podcast, where we take one live action movie and figure out how to do it in animation. I'm Jay, and once again, I'm with Madzy again.
Hello, I'm Madeline.
So, we are going to talk about the one movie that Madzy has recommended to me, and I want to pick that as a topic for this month's episode because it is directed by one of my favorite film director, Alejandro Jodorowsky. We're going to talk about his slasher movie, Santa Sangre.
His allegory for the trans experience movie.
Yeah. Yep, this is perhaps his own Matrix. I mean, the Matrix. Many have now read The Matrix as a trans allegory, but I decided to move forward with this movie because prior to that what we are doing right now, I haven't seen Santa Sangre, and I just used that podcast as an excuse to watch it for free on Tubi, and much like The Holy Mountain, which I really love, I really ended up loving it.
It's my favorite movie, I think.
Oh, okay. So, actually, I feel like almost every single people have their own favorite Jodorowsky, much like they might have their own favorite Spielberg and favorite James Cameron movies within top 10.
Yeah, I mean, this is by far his most accessible film. So I guess I'm pretty basic, loving it so much.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Jodorowsky tried to make something accessible in the past, but didn't work out because so much, creative intervention from the higher ups. And I would say that this is perhaps the closest thing that he ever made a most accessible movie, in spite of its gore and violence.
I call it elevated exploitation.
Yeah, I mean, I have my own term for that. Art house, grindhouse, or artistic grindhouse.
That fits.
And I would probably categorize movies like Irreversible, and there's a movie called All the Boys Love Mandy Lane, which the director have openly admit that they were inspired by 1970s exploitation grindhouse movies.
Nice. I'll have
for
to
the
check
aesthetics.
Yeah, I've not heard of it.
All the Boys Love Mandy Lane also has Amber Heard as a main lead. That's how she got popular with it, and it never released in the US until 2013, 8 years after the festival premiere. Yeah, wow. It's a crazy story on its own. Harvey Weinstein doesn't want to release it because they got a negative feedback from the audience or something. But
Jodorowsky has a number of those, right?
Yep.
Including what I think is the origin of Homer walking back into the hedge in Fando Wailis.
Oh, yeah. I don't exactly remember something related to that thing, but yeah, I also used that as a opportunity to watch Fando and Lee's. as well, and it feels like a sketch to his more larger works in the future.
Yeah,
Yeah, that movie was also wild. Anyway, back to Santa Sangre.
From Alejandro Jodorowsky, the legendary director of El Topo and the Holy Mountain, comes this year's most spectacular film, Santa Sangre.
What is Santa Sangre about? The movie begins with a naked man in a mental asylum. His name is Fennec, played by Alejandro Jodorowsky.
You can't just stay here all the time, not seeing anyone.
He imagines himself as a bird flying out across an unnamed Mexican city. It transitions into a flashback when he is a circus performer's child, who is now played by Adam Jodorowsky. The young Phoenix had an American knife-thrower father, Orgo, played by Guy Stockwell, who performs with a tattoo lady played by Thelma Tizo, whom he has an affair with.
Come with me. Against the board.
Anything you say, Mr.
The tattoo lady has an adopted deaf-mute daughter, Alma, played by Favolia Alenka Tapia. Fenix's mother was Concha, the Mexican aerialist, who is played by Blanca Guerra, and she was also the leader of a folk Catholic cult whose patron saint is a young girl who was raped and had her arms cut off.
Here she is, Monsignor.
But this is no saint.
Monsignor, she is a saint.
How could you?
Right here. Many years ago, Lirio, a young girl, was attacked by the Terrano brothers. She tried to fight them off with all her strength, but they cut off her arms. They raped her and left her to die in a pool of blood. And on this ground, miraculously still wet with her holy blood, we built our church.
This is paint.
No, it's holy blood.
This is paint.
It's holy blood!
This backstory is loosely based on the real-life murder that happened in Italy, where Alessandro Serenelli took the life of Maria Goretti, the 12-year-old girl. The circus also includes a troupe of clowns, dwarves, and elephants. One night, during the performance, Concha, who was hanging in midair, saw her husband Orgo being intimate with the tattoo lady. Later, when Orgo and the tattoo lady are on the bed together, Concha poured sulfuric acid on Orgo's crotch, which made him retaliate by cutting her arms off with his knives. The young Phoenix saw this happening with his father, slit his own throat, which traumatized him forever.
La barca de oro que debe conducirme, yo ya me voy.
Back to the present day, the adult Phoenix sees his armless mother from his cell window. Phoenix escapes with his mother and plans their revenge on the tattoo lady, who is now working as a prostitute in the city and pimping the adult Alma, now played by Sabrina Dennison, to her clients. Along the way, as Phoenix becomes Concha's hands, they go on a murder spree of women that reminded Concha of her husband's infidelity.
You said that it's just you interpreted this movie as an allegory for transgender experience.
Well,
And I also read your own, analysis right there that you shared to me last night.
yeah, it hit me pretty hard on this viewing because I hadn't really transitioned. I haven't seen this film since I had transitioned, really. And when the Phoenix is at that point where he's throwing the knives, and then his mother takes control of him and says, "Kill her!" It just sort of felt like what I was being told at the entirety of my life about any time I would exhibit any kind of feminine kind of behavior. And it feels violent because it's like you gotta destroy that part of yourself that's really, I mean, it's integral or it wouldn't just remain. And the constant murder, I mean, meeting a woman and then the mother saying to kill it is like the continual societal pressure that leads to binging and purging in the transgender community, is where you dress up while you're closeted and you get that relief, and then you immediately feel guilt and you've crossed a taboo worse than murder. I mean, sometimes it feels like you'd be better off and more accepted as a murderer than as a transgender person in some families. So it just really hit. And then they're all buried, right? All the women. Mm-hmm. And mm-hmm. It's like, okay, I've buried all these feelings. Not gonna deal with them, kill them as soon as they're there. But they all rise from the grave, and it's because it's part of you, right? It's going on inside your head. And at the end, when finally he realizes that he has agency over his hands, he's got joy, even though he's about to be arrested for all the horrible consequences of his actions, which is the release of letting others tell you how to be, and finally taking agency over your own actions. Because as a trans person, kind of like in I Saw the TV Glow, I see like there is no real agency to this character. He wants to stop whatever is happening to him, but he can't control it. And it was powerful. But like for me, when I was closeted and I did not feel right in my body, I wanted to get rid of the part of me that was most masculine. And so I'd imagine all these ideas and Rube Goldberg contraptions that would make me have to be a woman, like my penis got cut off, and but I wouldn't be at fault because I didn't take action, and therefore it was an acceptable way to become. And like The Skin I Live In, a horror movie to most, a wish fulfillment movie to me.
Oh, so you like that movie, The Skin I Live In? I actually watched that movie in the theater, but weirdly enough, that nowadays people don't really look back positively on that Almodovar movie because I would say that it plays on this very transphobic fear about some like powers that be forces you to change your gender, but
But
I don't know. I
but
don't know.
it
Some
was
people would probably read that differently.
yeah. I mean, everybody experiences media in different ways, and the way I experienced that film was like, yes, finally, like I wish this would happen to me. You know.
Yeah, have a crazy Antonio Banderas mad scientist abducts you, but however, I believe that person was also sexually assaulted Antonio Banderas' daughter.
Oh, I know. That's not the part I was attached to. Okay.
Okay, all right. So, again, people will probably read things differently, but yeah, I'm not sure. I probably watched that movie again just to re-experience it. But speaking of which, for me, like I said before, it's perhaps his most successful, but also successfully balanced between, like, I would say, what the mainstream public would want to see, along with Jodorowsky's own poetic, surrealist, like, unconventional storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and his visual imagery is beautiful.
Yep.
It's a painterly film for sure. The colors are vivid. And it feels like a circus the whole way through almost.
Yeah, and unsurprisingly, it's also set around the circus, and the characters are circus performers themselves.
Yeah, no, they used real actors with real identities in this film, and that could be exploitative, like maybe like Fitzcarraldo with the indigenous people. Forcing them to move that boat over the mountain for real.
Oh, the Herzog movie.
Yeah, but it also seems a bit positive to me that they didn't just have actors pretending to have problems. You know, presumably they were paid, right?
Yeah, except his sons. His sons were also actors. Like, I believe one of his youngest son, Adon, plays the young Phoenix, and one of his older sons, who had passed away a few years ago, Axel. His name was Axel Jodorowsky. He played the adult Fennec. So I also would like to point out that I would say that there are a lot of like phallic symbols, like Fennec's dad is the American knife thrower. Yeah. And when Fennec grows up, he it's like I said, like his armless mother tell him to kill the woman that he likes, and then he kills her by throwing like a knife onto her abdomen, and that kills her. And there's like a scene where Orgo snake.
That was nothing more phallic than that one.
Gentlemen, coming soon at the Colosseum, an evening of wrestling, featuring the Saint, the world's strongest woman. Good against people, the Saint,
What's happening to you?
Yep. And remember that scene where his American dad. There's a scene where he hypnotized Fennec's mom with with his own knife, which is such a
It was
strange
ridiculous.
metaphor.
It's hilarious. And in fact, I heard watching him talk about Santa Sangre that all of his films are comedies in his opinion.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that whole hypnosis part is part that nobody's unable to take it seriously. I think at least the director is aware about it.
And the female wrestler scene.
Oh God.
It makes sense though. He wants somebody strong enough to break his arm so he can no longer do any damage.
Right, and yeah, I mean it's also she's also almost looks gender nonconformist, and I mean it's pretty much consistent with your trans allegory
I
interpretation.
I mean, it is transy. I mean, he's part of him is his mother, right? His arms, at least.
hmm
Um,
And yeah, and also his mom also is like the leader of this like syncretic Catholic cult that is too blasphemous for the mainstream Catholicism.
yeah, it's holy blood. This is paint.
Right. And also, this is based on like the real life murder. Like, I would say like a two different like murder case happened in both in Italy and Mexico. Like,
This
and it may not surprise that the producer is Italian, Claudio Argento, who's a brother of Dario Argento, which probably explains a lot of giallo lighting.
yeah, which I love. There's a reason Dario Argento is one of my favorite directors as well.
Yep, you could say that this is Jodorowsky's own giallo horror.
I think it's well constructed. I think it's probably the best giallo I've seen, unless we go for Suspiria.
Yeah, I need to watch more giallo movies. I have seen. I would say more like a post giallo or more like a how should I put it? Neo giallo work. There's this Belgian movie called Amer, which more like trying to tell like this abstract story using like tropes from giallo horror movies and the strange tears of your like sorry the strange colors of your body's tears done by the same director of Amer.
Definitely has a
And,
giallo title.
And you got a lot of like Brian De Palma movies, and there's this Lindsay Lohan horror movie called I Know Who Killed Me.
Oh yeah.
Not sure if you remember that one. I Know Who Killed Me.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yep. And so I mentioned about the real life incident. So this is like based on this, like loosely based on like this one murder happened in Italy a very long time ago, where this I say like this 11-year-old girl got killed by a 20-year-old man because she didn't accept his like sexual advances, so he killed her, and then that put him in jail, things like that, and he felt very guilty about it to the point that he hallucinate his victim, coming to him as a ghost, and he begged for mercy and forgiveness. And after he was released from prison, he asked her surviving mother for forgiveness as well, and she forgave him, and then this and he later entered into monastery, and his victim, her name is Maria Goretti. She became a saint, and the murderer's name is Alessandro Serenelli, he later became a monk, like later in his life, and stayed at a monastery until his death at the age of, I think, 87. So he left his last will about, regretting to murder a girl, and in which he expresses his remorse, and he's glad that he was forgiven, and he also, glad that people helped him to, rehabilitate and help him to redeem, which almost feels like a parallel to Fennec's own story. And like I said, the Mexican incident one, that one was, that one was based on the murder case of this man, Gregorio Carnendez Hernandez. Like, he went on I think he killed like 4 people, and that got him in. He was arrested and got in jail. However, while he was there, he was rehabilitated and got pardoned, and he became a lawyer. And actually, part of the reason why this Santa Sangre got made, because he actually allegedly he met Alejandro Jodorowsky by pure chance, and when Jodorowsky learns that was actually him, and that inspired Jodorowsky to make Santa Sangre.
Wouldn't not I mean, he did get around a lot, different places.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised. There's a lot of mime stuff in this too, which also isn't surprising. But I see the mime as the woman that cannot say a word being inside.
Yep, the deaf girl.
Yeah.
And she later becomes more like acted as a Fennec's own conscience.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned that her name Alma, it means soul, and you could say that she symbolizes Fennec's innocent soul and conscience that had been buried deep in his mind. And when they finally see each other for the first time in many years, she sort of encouraged him to go on the right path and such. And in a weird coincidence that Alma also shares the same name with Jodorowsky's own granddaughter, Alma Jodorowsky.
I didn't know that. Maybe he named her
after
her?
You could say that the name Alma is... it's a relatively common girl's name. And Alma Jodorowsky also follows, like, her family members' footsteps by becoming an actress. And recently she did a voice in the original French audio of this movie Arco. You probably heard about this movie Arco.
Heard about it.
Yeah, it came out last year, and I really, when I saw it, I ended up only seeing the English stuff, and her character was voiced by Natalie Portman, who is also the producer of Arco. But so I was kind of disappointed. Like, I wonder how, her voice sounds like, but I at least got an idea how she sounds like, because I watched a trailer of a movie that she starred in, but it was like her speaking English.
Well, I enjoyed her performance. Everyone was over the top.
Yep.
So that was kind
I'm
of
not
the
sure
point.
if that actress is also deaf in real life.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah, I agree. I agree that the way she performed without saying any words was quite lyrical.
Yeah, Jodorowsky was a mime, right? So he knew how to choreograph things. That scene with his mother in the burlesque show, even though they're talking, it's very mimey, if you know what I mean. With
Yes.
his hands are so just expressive. So I particularly enjoyed that. I enjoyed the whole thing. I mean, I never get bored when I watch this film. There's always something going on.
Yep. You could probably tell much about any like Jodorowsky movies.
Who is Alejandro Jodorowsky? Alejandro Jodorowsky Prolansky was born in Tocopilla, Chile on February 17, 1929, to immigrant Ukrainian Jewish parents Jaime Jodorowsky Groisman and Sarah Felicidad Prolansky Arkavi. Growing up, he did not get along with the rest of his family and held contempt many Tocopillan locals, who ostracized him for his immigrant background. However, he did like the local area, which made him sad when his family moved to the city of Santiago. The young Alejandro Jodorowsky began writing poetry and even had his first poem published when he was 16. Jodorowsky studied at the University of Chile, but dropped out after 2 years. Afterward, he worked as a mime, a circus clown, and founded a theater troupe, the Teatro Mimico, which had 50 members. Jodorowsky then moved to Paris, France, and attended the Sorbonne University. He joined the legendary mime artist Marcel Marceau's troupe and went on tour with him. After this, he returned to theater and started experimenting with filmmaking. He directed a surrealist comedy short film, The Severed Heads, based on a novella by Thomas Mann. Later, in 1960, he moved to Mexico City, and in 1962, he founded the Panic Movement with Spanish playwright Fernando Arrabal and French illustrator Roland Topor. The movement was based on their mutual interest in surrealism, trying to continue the absurdist performance art that Antonin Artaud's Theater of Cruelty had left off, and losing respect for his surrealist idol André Breton. In 1968, he directed his first feature film, Fando y Lis, which is loosely based on his colleague Fernando Arrabal's play of the same name. Fando y Lis is about the titular pair who embark on a surreal quest in search of Tar, a mythical heaven-like place. It premiered at the 1968 Acapulco Film Festival, where it instigated a riot amongst offended audiences and was subsequently banned in Mexico. In 1970, Jodorowsky followed up with an acid Western movie, El Topo, which means the mole in English. It is a retelling of Sodom and Gomorrah from the Bible, where a wandering Mexican gunslinger, El Topo, is played by Jodorowsky, who is on a search for spiritual enlightenment with his young son, played by his real-life son, Brontes. It became a cult hit in the United States, where it is played as a midnight movie in New York City for several months, and Mexico selected it for the best foreign language film at the 44th Academy Awards. Former Beatles frontman John Lennon and his wife Yoko Ono caught the screening of it, and they loved it so much they convinced the president of the Beatles company Apple Corps, Alan Klein, to distribute it in the United States. Alan Klein funded $1 million to Alejandro Jodorowsky's next project, La Montaña Sagrada, or The Holy Mountain in English. The Holy Mountain was inspired from books Ascent of Mount Carmel by John of the Cross and Mount Analog by René Dumas. It is a multi-part story that features a Christ-like protagonist called the Thief, played by Horatio Salinas, an alchemist, played by Jodorowsky, 7 powerful business people representing 7 of the planets, and a spiritual quest to seek immortality on the top of a holy mountain. In retaliation for Jodorowsky declining Klein's next commission, Alan Klein made El Topo and the Holy Mountain, which he held the rights, completely unavailable to the public for more than 30 years, thus completely burning their bridges. Jodorowsky tried to direct a 14-hour-long epic film adaptation of Frank Herbert's sci-fi epic novel Dune. He wanted to cast his son Brontes as Paul Atreides, and bring big-name figures like Salvador Dali, Orson Welles, and Rolling Stones frontman Mick Jagger in supporting roles. He even brought in big-name artists like H.R. Geiger, Chris Foss and Jean Mobius Giraud to do concept arts. However, because of the budget overrun and big studios not wanting to support the project with wild visions and scale, it was never produced. The aborted production was chronicled in Frank Pavich's documentary, Jodorowsky's Dune. Jodorowsky moved on to direct a children's movie in India titled Tusk, which is about the friendship between a young British woman and a highly prized elephant. However, Tusk faced so many interventions from the producers that Jodorowsky disowned the final cut and went into obscurity. Jodorowsky moved on to direct a slasher horror movie, Santa Sangre, in Mexico, with his sons as his actors, and the support from an Italian film producer, Claudio Argento, the older brother of Suspiria director Dario Argento. Due to its graphic contents, it was given a limited release in the United States, but received critical acclaim nonetheless, with film critic Roger Ebert praising it for being a horror movie that actually explores evil in the world. He followed in 1990 with a very different film, The Rainbow Thief. Though it gave Jodorowsky a chance to work with big-name actors Peter O'Toole and Omar Sharif. The executive producer of the movie, the same year, Jodorowsky and his family moved to France. During the decade of the 2000s, Alejandro Jodorowsky tried to come to film directing, but he was unable to find financiers for his projects. As his major works gained major reassessments through retrospective screenings, this gave him some courage to reach out to his old friend and French film producer Michael Seydoux, who helped Jodorowsky during the pre-production of his Dune movie. Together in 2011, they filmed his autobiographical movie La Danza de la Realidad, or The Dance of Reality, in his childhood hometown of Tocopilla, with his eldest son Brontis playing Alejandro's father Jaime, and Alejandro's grandson Jeremias Herskovits acting as his preteen self. The Dance of Reality was released at 2013 Cannes Film Festival in the director's Fortnight selection, and received a standing ovation. Later, Jodorowsky followed that up with Poesia sin fin, or Endless Poetry, in English, which focused more on his young adult self, now played by his son Adán Jodorowsky, before leaving for Paris. Alejandro Jodorowsky is also a prolific comic book writer. He wrote comic strips for a Mexican newspaper during the 1960s, the Incal series, with Mobius doing the art. He also repurposed his ideas for the unfilmed Dune movie in his The Metabarons trilogy, and turned his much-awaited sequel to El Topo, The Son of El Topo, into a graphic novel as well.
Even how batshit insane his movies are, it's never boring. Like, you really want to know where this is exactly going. Like, you want to know more because so much thing happening all at the same time.
Yeah, it's chaos.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's what I really love about the Holy Mountain, because I think the first time I watched Holy Mountain, like, it's one of those movies I heard occasionally on the internet. Like, it's like this one big cult movie. And I think back in like 2013, 2014, I bought a DVD set of his movies, his past work, and I still have that DVD, collection. And I decided to give The Holy Mountain a watch. I was really in love with it. I was like, oh wow, this is so much going, not only so much going on, but there are a lot of elements that, if it's like done, if you try to make something like that in like in the American movie industry back then, they could just pretty much turn that into like a series of movies, or at least like a franchise. And you keep in mind that back then I thought the Avengers movie could do it. Like, the first Avenger movies could do that kind of movie. But however, one of the reasons why the first Avenger worked, because they had like a series of movies that introduced this certain hero. Because doing like a big crossover movie would probably take a lot of risk.
So
However, the Holy Mountain, on the other hand, that instead of making like a feature length movie for each of these characters, they just create like a segment that goes into detail about this character.
hmm
And
like Orange is the New Black
like,
does, and films like that, shows like that.
I was like, this feels like this is exactly what I wanted the first Avengers to be like. Instead of trying to build up to that one crossover movie, instead they just goes into detail of each character, and it meant in a more, how should I put it, in a more digestible way.
So origin story of the movie.
Origin story along with their adventures. Have you seen a movie that tries to be like that? I mean, okay, I heard that some movies that try to tell origin story like briefly or in for 10 minutes, but however it ended up becoming a mess of its own. But
That's what happened
the
with
Holy One
Suicide
did
Squad.
not feel like a mess. For some, it would feel like a mess. However, the movie already feels very messy to begin with, but you sort of accept it and went with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a surrealism, right? Everything he does is surreal. Except
But
maybe
it's also a
Tusk.
surrealism that incorporates like a country history and folklores and our, I don't know how should I put it, like our human tendency to connect, planet or stars with mythological figure.
You mean like his psycho? What does he call it?
Psycho magic.
Yeah, psycho magic. Is that
No,
what this
I
is
wasn't
about? I didn't
thinking
even investigate any of that. So, what?
Yeah, he has his own brand of like psychoanalysis or like a psychological therapy, and to the point that he made a documentary of it, and that's ended up being the last thing he has made, or at least the one recent thing that he has made. I'm not sure what he's currently making now.
Are his comic books still going?
Maybe. I mean, I heard that he's trying to make a sequel to El Topo, and however, it doesn't really particularly went anywhere. I haven't heard anything about it since. But he did release the sequel as a graphic novel series.
Yeah. Well, I to be honest, for me, I really wanted to watch more of Jodorowsky's films when I was first introduced to Santa Sangre, but they were incredibly difficult to find. Back in the 80s.
Oh, right.
Like they were not really released on VHS, at least not in a way that I could find easily. I'd probably have to.
Yes. I believe this is. I found out that it's because the producer of The Holy Mountain, Alan Klein, he and Jodorowsky burned bridge after The Holy Mountain release because Jodorowsky refused to direct the movie that Klein had commissioned him.
That's a shame.
So, however, yeah, it took a very long while to get into like a home media for his past movies.
Yeah, like Holy Mountain, or El Topo, I finally saw a DVD of it in, I'll say, 2008. I may be mistaken about the release date, but
Yeah,
does Criterion
I think
have anything on him?
no, but I really wish that Criterion released his movies as well.
Yeah, it seems deserving of it, but I also think Coffin Joe movies deserve it.
Yeah, I need to watch Coffin Joe. That's a Brazilian movie, right?
Yeah. It's wild and surreal, and I would call it elevated exploitation as well.
So
So are we gonna reanimate this?
yeah, I mean, we have about an hour left. I say that we should use that moment to talk about the animation side of surrealism, or the surrealist side of animation. So here's my confession. When I said, Holy Mountain is one of my favorite movie of all time, and it's also shown me how limitless the live action filmmaking is. Like, I don't know, people say that, like, whenever they compare live action and animation, they sometimes bring up that, oh, live action has too much limitation compared to animation. I was like, yeah, I don't buy it. The Holy Mountain showed me that you could do whatever you want with that medium.
Hey everyone, voiceover narrator Dom here. If you want to listen to this episode without the ad breaks, please support us on Patreon. With $1 a month, you can get early access, bonus episodes, bloopers, research notes, and have your name on the credits. You can come hang out with us on our occasional group screenings where we watch some movies and shorts. With your help, we could bring in big-name experts and industry professionals. The Patreon page link is in the description.
So yeah, the Holy Mountain showed me that, like, this. How should I put it? It really showed me the infinite nature of movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the imagery from the scenes I've seen. I feel it's very surreal. And like when I was first getting into art, that was kind of this direction that I would follow, like Yves Tanguy and Dali. Those were the ones I would try and emulate when I was painting. And so I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think surrealism is so violent?
Surrealism is so violent. That's a good question. I would say that whenever you see someone getting injured, as a because of the result of the violence, it feels very distorted.
Yes, it's something that you don't expect to be exposed to. Nowadays, it's a little different though, because that's all we are exposed to on television and whatever, right? Has it lost its impact? Should it be a part of surrealism anymore?
I could see where you're coming from, and I remember a few years ago. Remember how, back in like 2024 election, how Tim Walz trying to, frame, MAGA people and Donald Trump supporters as weirdo. And to be honest, they deserve to be called weirdos.
100%.
They were just weirdos. Just to show that how not normal the mainstream right-wing, culture is.
Yeah. But then it just sort of inured us to the stupidity, right? So here's an even broader question. Has surrealism outlived its purpose? Because,
believe it or not, the actual surrealists have asked that after the Second World War. Because I believe, I'm not sure, I can't remember the artist's name, but one surreal artist has asked that question because then, the fascists have trying to, what's the word, repurpose surrealism, and then to the point that that artist felt that surrealism itself not only is dead but also failed, because the whole point of surrealism is trying to fight back against the mainstream logic and the public conformity.
mm-hmm. I know.
Yep.
So, but okay, I feel like AI is perhaps the most true producer of surrealistic content because it's taking pretty much the collective consciousness, throwing it in a blender, and spitting it out back out to us. I'm not a fan of AI art. I viscerally hate it. But part of me has to acknowledge that there might be, that might be what, at least at the beginnings with the early days of Sora and stuff, what was so fascinating about it.
Right. To be honest, part of the reason why I'm sort of AI agnostic, because there are some few things that AI could do better. It's just that the problem is companies and people just use, I don't know, image generation image and video generation in a wrong way. And also harmful way.
Yeah. I don't know why we're trying to replace ourselves. That's the thing I don't understand.
Yeah. And I really want to use, say, like machine learning and algorithm, neural network, those for like, how should I put it? Generate something that you couldn't do manually. That's why filters that's why filters are for.
Yep. I use a lot of those.
When you think about it, some of the Gen AI software aren't exactly new. Like,
I was programming.
It's just a very expensive, image filter or a phone filter. Don't you think? So.
Yes and no, because right now the people that are using it feel that it's not really a filter. They're calling it the product. They're not modifying through any sort of emotion. I don't know how you convey emotion through an AI generated scene. You're not really putting much thought into anything but the prompt, which is an idea. It's thundering over here. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like when people want to use AI to replace, to get out of paying artists who already have trouble surviving.
Yeah,
and especially when they've trained on the data.
Mm-hmm. Turns out that having AI ended up being more expensive than having like a human worker.
Yeah,
I learned that. I think a few days ago. But you know what?
That's facts and figures.
That's fine by me. I mean, I think all companies should stop using, automate. Okay, maybe automation itself is useful in some way, but I think it's very naive that automation alone could help businesses.
What it does is
why we need we need humans in certain roles in business and marketing and production.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, if you're, the problem is, yes, we have facts and figures and data that it is more expensive to use AI than a human. And when you're focusing with human, like in code work, like shepherding the AI, double checking the AI's work instead of going through and doing the work yourself that we all are capable of as computer engineers, if you're a computer engineer. Let me tell you, when I was at Microsoft, the worst thing in the world for me was going through other people's code. We turned what was a good intellectual exercise into a chore. That's what I hate. AI turns everything into a chore. Anyway.
So yeah, that's a bit of okay. So tangent aside, so let's go back to how we could reimagine Santa Sangre as animation. So you know what? Here's another one animator or animation producer can think of whenever I think of Jodorowsky. There's a Japanese anime producer or creator, animator, whatever you call it, animation director. So his name is Kunihiko Ikuhara. He's the mind behind Revolutionary Girl Utena, Mawaru Penguin Drum, Yurikuma Arashi, Sara Sanmai, and before he made Utena, he directed a couple of episodes of Sailor Moon, like the 90s Sailor Moon anime series, and I think he also directed one Sailor Moon feature film. So, and I remember watching The Holy Mountain for the first time. I also thought of Penguin Drum as well, because you have this very sprawling story and so much abstract symbolism and how it all lead up to this whole message about the society and our relation with the media. Yeah, I feel like that's the best I could describe it. I mean, I think about a decade ago I posted this on Twitter, and from an account that I deleted a long time ago. I call Kunihiko Ikuhara the Alejandro Jodorowsky of anime. However, some people have said that Kunihiko Ikuhara is the David Lynch of Japan, or the David Lynch of anime, but I feel like Jodorowsky is a lot more appropriate, as both of them have this very maximalist vision.
Yeah, David Lynch is a little more understated, isn't he?
I know. But Madzy, what animated work that you reminded of while watching Jodorowsky movie, be it Santa Sangre or any of his work?
Well, I'm reminded of kind of puppet Grand Grunal. Have you seen that movie? What is it called? John Builds a Box or something like that.
Is it Dan builds a maze?
Yeah. Where he goes into...
Oh, Dave made a maze.
Dave made a maze. Yeah, where he goes into the box and he builds it out of cardboard, and it's this huge labyrinth. But there's a lot of puppetry in that. And I like the representation of all the gore and stuff, using the streamers and the confetti and stuff. And I feel that kind of world, that kind of look would lend itself to Santa Sangre.
So it reminds you more of a puppet than, say, 2D or 3D animated movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I believe, Jan Spankmeyer stuff, his more puppets influenced, stop motion animation work, Punch and Judy.
Yeah, it's very circusy. And it's the balloons, when they showed Alex Jones' head pop like a balloon, it was very much in that style. I'm just talking about the new InfoWars. Did you see any of that?
No. You mean the current, the Onion era Infowar.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. Let me look it up. Infowar, Alex Jones, head balloon. I'm looking at this on YouTube. Yeah, I can't find it at the moment.
They're using
but,
a bit of animation in the show, particularly for like the ad stuff and the intros and stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing more. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. If I wanted to talk about outside media, I'd talk about The Room Returns with Bob Odenkirk. I think that's kind of cool.
So
where were we?
So yeah, we were talking about what would be your, I mean, what, Jodorowsky movie reminds you of, like what animated movies that you're reminded of after watching Jodorowsky movies. That's what I was like asking, and I already shared my own, like, oh, it reminds me of Ikuhara, anime works.
Yeah,
I feel like someone who knew more about Revolutionary Girl Utena more than I do would. I like to ask that person what's his perspective on that comparison, but then again, like I don't know, like like I said before, like how the Holy Mountain made me realize the whole unlimited nature of live action filmmaking. Do you think like what part of his movies that could not work in animation? What? Like, I don't think you could probably replicate that feeling in the medium of animation, because I heard that I don't know, someone kind of commented, well, not relating to Jodorowsky, but someone had said that, oh, there are some part about a live action movie that couldn't be done well in animation, but didn't go in further into it. But
really, I think that is more dependent on the abilities of the animator, what wouldn't be possible, especially given the giallo lighting and the first, we're talking about Santa Sangre?
Yeah, I mean Santa Sangre or the Holy Mountain.
Right. I mean,
but
that entire film is more art, like more painting than film to me. I don't see how it wouldn't. It's almost animated as it is. I guess the grittiness of the gore, but to be honest, there's not that much there, and I think you can make gore very visceral in an animated form.
Possibly.
You could. There are places you could go that would be even worse. Like the whole scene with in Santa Sangre at the church where the Monsignor is tearing down the building. It is very effective, but you don't think that could be improved and made even more impactful with sort of animated blood in the pool instead of just paint, I don't know.
When I saw that mural, the mural inside that church of the girl getting her arm chopped off,
yeah,
and
that was impactful.
And the lady, the cult lady, her name is Concha. That's the Fennec's mom.
Right.
Fennec's mom is like explaining the whole story, and I sort of imagine like the painting just come alive and then reenacting the whole incident, and the blood suddenly becomes like that pool of blood. But however, I feel like the one thing that I feel like it unable to do in animation, like Monsignor just pointed out that, oh, this is not a real blood, that's a paint. And we as an audience could see that the blood doesn't even look that convincing. But if it's done in animation, it could feel you couldn't tell the difference between blood and just painted water.
Right,
Or
here
maybe
it goes
could-
meta fourth wall. He's saying this is paint. It is actual blood, but it's the film is animated. Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe turn that pool of blood into like a watercolor,
Oh yeah,
like the moving like a red watercolor, water painted on a paper, and it's constantly moving like 24 frames per second.
yeah. That's I kind of want it thick,
Yeah, it has to be done
syrupy.
on like a very thick paper. What do you call this? Like this watercolor paper that's this very specific kind of. Okay, it just call it like a watercolor paper. Yeah, I agree that it needs to be done on that kind of paper, and also I don't know that you see that mural on the wall. I was reminded of. I realized that I was reminded of this animation work done by this Palestinian animator in Gaza named Hanin Koraz. She teaches animation to kids in Gaza, and she's currently, she and her students are, trying to survive with this whole, current occupation is going on.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Well, I mean, the whole, genocide is going on since 2023. Yeah, okay, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see that. For me, when I was looking at the images there, they were animating for me, but kind of in a Monty Python style, because they were kind of cut out like cutouts.
So yeah, I think I've seen a couple of Palestinian animation short or animated short involving Israeli occupation of Palestine. I think I've seen one with the painting on the wall, actually the border wall between West Bank and Israel, that tells about a soccer playing Palestinian boy and then the Israeli soldiers. I believe that's what it's about, but I can't remember in full detail. But it's still I was very intrigued by how they use that wall to tell such story. I'm not sure it was made by a Palestinian person or someone who is observing the whole, how should I put it, this occupation, and decide to turn that into a subject for their short film. But I can't remember fully. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see it. It's like animated Banksy stuff, really.
Yeah, I mean yeah, the whole having a church based around this girl, this murdered girl who has been martyred, trying to, or at least turn that girl into like a Catholic martyr.
Yeah, and it comes full circle, and the mother becomes the martyr herself. You would say she was born when the statue fell down.
And then you could probably read deep into this, like her husband is an American, a philandering, like American, the stereotypical,
Fat American pig.
American. Yeah, it pretty much weirdly represents like how people in Latin America view the worst of the United States.
I mean, to be honest, not many people come off looking very good in this film.
Yeah, and then there was a scene where he tattooed his son, and very painfully.
Yeah, cutting into his chest.
Yeah, it
Kind of a furry
it almost
moment.
feels like a representation of toxic masculinity.
Oh.
And going back to your own, trans allegory, he's like indoctrinating this toxic masculinity on him, and
That's
creating
puberty.
some sort of weird
Imprinting itself on you.
internalized transphobia or
Yeah, exactly.
internalized misogyny.
Exactly. And then when he's trying to become invisible, like the Invisible Man, he's trying to disappear the part that's masculine in himself and only be his mother.
Right.
I don't see how this is not obvious, like not brought out in gender studies classes. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm really tired.
I would like to hear from the feminist interpretation of that. Okay, here's about another anecdote. The reason why Jodorowsky turned down the Alan Klein's commission, because he back then he was starting to learn about feminism, start reading like feminist work, and that partially changed his perspective in like intergender relation. Because what Klein was offering him was the film adaptation of The Story of O, which is a book involving like sadomasochism, and Jodorowsky, back then he was like learning more about feminism, and he personally felt very discomfort by it.
Yeah, I can see that.
So yes,
So the Marquis, I guess Topor was not bothered by that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the Topor, like one of his, he was like one of his own like panic movement circle, along with Fernando Arrabal, who wrote the play that played the Fondo Elise was based on.
Yeah, I mean he ran with some pretty a diverse group of well-known figures of the 70s. Marcel Marceau,
right?
H.R. Giger,
very popular.
Dan O'Bannon.
He tried to cast Salvador Dali as the space emperor in his movie, and that's a very crazy story on its own.
Have you seen the drawings of that? Where he's on the toilets?
Yes, and the burning giraffe, and
yeah, it's great.
And he tried to cast Orson Welles as Baron Harkonnen. To give you an idea, in the Denis Villeneuve Dune movies, that's the Stellan Skarsgård character. To be honest, that's actually not a bad casting in of itself. Back then, like Orson Welles was very, overweight.
Oh yeah, he was a parody of himself at that point. But he still has some good stuff in him. Did you ever see F is for Fake?
I really need to see that, but yeah, that's perhaps his last great work, or at least the final masterpiece that he has made in his lifetime.
Yeah. Oh.
And then and Mick Jagger like that character that Austin Butler will play.
Is that
I forgot the character's name, but that's the Austin Butler character in the Dune Part 2.
Is that why David Lynch cast Sting?
Probably. Yeah. And also, besides that church scene, so yeah, I think we could all agree that it might work well in more like a cutout animation.
Yeah. No, I agree. I was gonna say that, but then I thought that would be just too normal.
Yeah, I mean it's
Too obvious. Because of that scene in the church. But I agree.
the characters themselves were very puppet-like.
I guess I think of puppets associated with circuses because there are always like marionettes there. And I guess that's the thing I focused on as a kid was the puppets there. But
Yeah,
it just reads circus to me.
yeah, marionette would be a interesting. Well, not within like our hypothetical animation tape, but I feel like the marionette itself is a weird, interesting parallel between Vanek's character arc. Like someone is controlling him through string,
Pull the strings.
which makes it Bella Lugosi. Anyway, it sort of like I said, someone is controlling him like a puppet, a literal puppet, until he breaks free.
You know, if we were being smart about this, we'd just go marionette all the way because of the obvious allegory
Sure.
there. And it would be
and-
interesting to see a puppet puppeting the mother with their arms. That would take some real skill. You'd think the strings would get twisted together pretty quickly.
Or maybe have the mother to be like a 3D like like CGI, and then but the puppet is the marionette puppet that Fanex as a marionette puppet itself is practical. It's just a to use a very complex compositing.
Yeah.
And CGI would probably make my sense because it paradoxically looks physical and not exactly physical at the same time.
Yeah, it gives that uncanny valley sort of thing.
And along with Fennec's own like imaginary figures based on people that he has interacted back when he was a kid. Also, his victims as cutout animation. Whenever he kills someone, the all the parts, the limbs, just pieces, sprites just fell off with blood flowing out.
Yeah, I see that.
And when he paints these corpses in white, it's just marionettes literally painting like a paper pieces in white and then bury it. Yeah, that by the way, that graveyard scene is for whatever reason it reminds me of the Rob Zombie movies.
Yeah?
I'm not sure how familiar are you with Rob Zombie.
Well, yeah, which, I mean, he doesn't really go supernatural in his stuff. And then when they're rising from the grave, that's completely supernatural. But, yeah, I do see, I mean, Rob Zombie borrows a lot of giallo in some of his work, I don't know if Devil's Rejects was that. That was just kind of hyper-realistic.
Yeah,
but it is kind of like a puppet
at
that point with where they wear the mask, or the human face, like put that on the victim and have they run. But,
oh yeah, that scene. I think I saw the clips of it.
yeah, no, that was hard to watch. That's part of the film I didn't really want to watch, but the rest of it.
I mean, would you consider Devil's Rejects as an elevated exploitation?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a great film. I mean, it's very watchable. It's also
I would also say
very
that
hard to
his
watch.
second Halloween movie as an elevated exploitation.
The second one?
Yeah, the sequel to his Halloween remake.
Oh, yeah. No, I have a lot of respect for him as a director of horror movies.
Yeah,
I liked
the reason why
horror.
I brought up Rob Zombie when we talk about the graveyard scene, because there are a lot of stuff from his second Halloween movie, feels like something that Jodorowsky would have
Yeah,
done.
I could see him influenced by that.
Mhm.
Like his early like videos and stuff were
Mhm.
day glow monster stuff.
Mhm.
This is kind of day glow giallo. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could see, but I mean, like there's a lot of white face paint in Rob Zombie's videos, right? White
I'm not
Zombie.
familiar
I'm
with
thinking
his
of White
music
Zombie.
videos.
What's the name of the
Okay.
band?
Oh yeah. I think I've seen like an image of him and his band members in face paint. I think I remember seeing like his movie 31, his like Killer Clowns Running Man movie. Like,
Yeah.
believe it or not, I watched it as part of like it was screened as part of like a film festival, because I attended like a film festival and they were screening like 31, and I was like, okay, I would just watch that one because I have a friend back in Missouri who's a fan of Rob Zombie, and I just wanted to impress him that, oh hey, I watched this movie earlier than you did, and
That
I didn't love it,
it was
but
wasn't his best,
yeah.
but it was something when I was wanting him to have something out there. So
Yeah, it was very much okay movie.
Yeah.
At least for me. Like I think yeah, it was one of those movies that let me mix bag.
uh
And I feel like a lot of people back then felt the same.
I don't know. Maybe it was the color grading on the film. It was very one note. Kind of that orangey yellow kind of. At least that's how I remember it. All right, so how would you cross this film? What movie? Like Terrifier?
What do you mean cross?
Would you like? Would you cross this Santa Sangre with another film?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, back then people compared this movie to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Maybe it was Psycho.
Psycho?
I mean, that's just one movie that I just immediately thought of in my mind, but I'm not exactly sure. Oh wait, another like crazy Mexican movie that I really like is called We Are the Flesh.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, it's what it looks like is like it's one of those movies that I would like to call it post Jodorowsky or Jodorowsky light. Like, it is a surrealist extreme movie that feels like something that Jodorowsky would have directed. And it also breaks all kinds of taboos.
Yeah, I'm interested.
I'll show you the trailer. In fact, when I watched that movie in theater, because there's a theater in Brooklyn called Spectacle, and they did a screening of it, and I really liked it. And after seeing it, I really want to work with the lead actor of this movie, Noe Hernandez, the Mexican actor.
Okay.
So, did you get the link?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself and watch it.
No te vamos a matar por dinero, ni por el placer de verte sufrir. Te vamos a matar por tu sangre por tu carne y por una serie de exquisitas sustancias que lo recorren. Te agarramos a ti por azar y recuerda que el azar es el criminal más grande que ha pisado la tierra.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that looks really good. Mexican horror is having a moment, kind of, you know.
Yeah,
With
I mean, it has always been like that. You know, you have a I also there's like a one horror movie from Mexico like very long time ago called The Mansion of Madness, which is a film adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's Professor Tar. You know, the one about Edgar Allan Poe's story about the mental asylum.
yeah,
And that is also it is directed by this man Juan Moctezuma. Let me get his full name correctly. Okay, Juan Lopez Moctezuma. He was a producer of El Topo and like I think Fando and Lee's like he worked with Jodorowsky along with this movie's cinematographer Rafael Cortigi. Rafael Cortigi was also a cinematographer for El Topo and the Holy Mountain. So,
yeah. No, you can see see the competence and the striking, at least in the trailer, of visuals. I see the comparison there.
I mean, while I was watching these movies, I was like, what is with Mexico and attracting like this, unhinged creative from like Spanish-speaking countries like Luis Buñuel and Jodorowsky.
They all went to Mexico.
I mean, sure, there are some weird movies made by the local, including Guillermo del Toro. But what is with Mexico attracting some, storyteller from Latin America or Spain and have them make the most offbeat movie ever?
I want more of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I trying to think of why this is such happening, man. I mean, why Mexico has their taste for this kind of movie, and the best I could theorize is that Mexico is such an interesting country where it syncretized Catholicism from Spain and the local Aztec Mayan
and
culture, and this dissonance kind of create this kind of very unique culture, and the the local Mexicans and trying to figure out how to make sense out of it.
Yeah, the population is interbred way more than they did up here in North America. So it's
and it's also the home country of crap, I forgot. Frida Kahlo and
Diego Rivera.
Rivera, and
no, I mean it's country. Mexico has always had a great artistic culture.
I really wish I could bring in like a Mexican national guest or anyone who is expert in Mexican art to explain why Mexico is so unique place where people who want Spanish speakers who wants to tell surrealist story to come here to make the most offbeat thing ever. Why is attracting?
Well, I mean,
much?
if you look at the pyramidal structures and the pictography of say the Olmecs or then you kind of get an idea that it's very abstracted and more open to interpretation, so it's less there's less boundaries to it. It feels like. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and so it's a freer country in that regard, mentally.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah,
I'm aware that Mexico had its own like military dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, supported by the American government.
But I'm talking
like
about
other, like Latin American.
I'm talking more about in kind of like what you say and what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a bit more fluid there. I don't know, because I don't know what I'm saying.
Yeah, neither do I. I really wish I could bring on like a Mexican like guest scholar.
I mean, my degree was in
Like that person to
anthropology.
explain
I took my
stuff that
courses here, but that
don't
was
need
30
them.
years
Understand.
ago.
You know, give a like a better cultural context. But okay, so you know, thinking about it, I really want, if you know, back to the animation take on Santa Sangre. I really wanted to like perhaps bring in like a Mexican animator.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like compared to the United States, Mexico tends to respect animation a lot more. Don't you think? More than, I mean, compared to the like I said, like compared to the United States.
I would say that there. How so? I mean, what makes you say that?
So what makes me say that?
Right, I'm not super familiar with the Mexican animation scene.
I mean, on one hand, you have someone like Guillermo del Toro saying, you know, really want hammer us that animation is a cinema, it's a medium, not a genre, and
Okay.
you also have, and there's like, I think there's like a animated short film, like Mexican short film, that also won an, you know, not only won Palme d'Or at Cannes, but also won Oscar for Best Animated Short, and that the director of that short film later went on to make live action movie, and that became a huge hit. That also got Oscar nomination, and he went back to directing animation again, and both of the tends to take up a lot more level-headed, more mature subject. I think that you know, that movie that he animated movie that he went to make slightly kid friendly, but at the same time people couldn't, I think it underperformed because people couldn't figure out whether it's exactly for kids or adult kind of situation. So, okay, so the director's name is Carlos Carrera, and he won an Oscar for directing this animated short called El Hero, which means the hero. Not only, okay, let's see, did it actually win an Oscar? No, okay, it didn't win the Oscar. Never mind about that. But he did win the Palme d'Or short film, like best short film at Cannes Film Festival, and one of his recent movies called Anna y Bruno, or Anna and Bruno. That's more his more mainstream stuff, and it was described as the most expensive animated film in the Mexican film industry.
Huh.
And apparently Alfonso Cuarón liked it, Guillermo del Toro liked it. However, you know, the Mexican public was unable to figure out whether it's exactly for kids or not.
Yeah,
So
so
there's
do
that.
they have the same problem there in the general populace about thinking of animation as kids' media?
I don't know. But however, I mean, when you have someone like Del Toro coming out and say, saying the opposite, and people at least try to take animation seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. It really depends on one person to person. I guess Anna Bruno didn't become a huge success just because they couldn't figure out whether if it's so tonally inconsistent. From what I heard, I need to see that movie just to figure out. But
Yeah.
I also need to watch this movie called I Am Frankenella or something.
I'm Franken Noah.
And it's currently available on Frankelda. I Am Frankelda. It's currently available on Netflix.
All right.
It's a stop motion animation from Mexico. And people have said that, well, the story is crap, but at least the animation is great.
Yeah, I like this. It looks gorgeous. Very much so.
So, all right. So, yeah, this is just me rambling about the
I'm sorry. I mean,
animation scene in Mexico, but I feel like some animator from Mexico would give a better insight.
I think so. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I saw The Coffee Table. I thought that was a great horror movie. I know a little more about the horror scene there.
Yeah, I think I heard about the premise somewhere. It disturbed me too much that I'm not sure I should watch it.
It's a very disturbing, especially.
But don't give me too much plot detail.
No. It's about a coffee table.
Okay. So Santa Sangre, it's going to be a mix between cutout animation, marionette puppetry, and some bit of a CGI, and with CGI being like the byproduct of Fennec's imagination.
Yeah, what's funny is the part where she says that he's always hallucinating birds. Why is that? And that's the only part that's real in his life.
Right.
I'm sorry. Just thought of that. But so the dream sequences should be the cutout animations.
Yeah, maybe, or just simply hand-drawn 2D animation.
Maybe we make the dream sequences more realistic and do it CGI.
That could work.
Because that way, kind of represents the fake world is more real to Phoenix than the real world is to him.
Yeah,
maybe even
that really
mix it live action and only make dream sequences reality sequences.
Have a stock footage of chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a Rob Bakshi animation.
What's funny? When I was first thinking about this, I was like, Ralph Bakshi, if he was gonna be animating. If this film was going to be animated when it was first made, would probably have been done by him.
Yeah, and all the characters looking like a rotos. I mean, they're all like done in rotoscope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
But that's just because he was so big in the 70s there.
Yeah. And I like American Pop for telling a very human story.
Yes, that's his best work, as far as I'm concerned.
Also very personal.
Yeah.
So, all right. I guess that's the conclusion we have come to. Like, I feel like if we really wanted to capture this uniquely Jodorowsky surrealism, we gotta use all kinds of media, cutout animation, marionette puppetry, CGI, and real documentary stock footage. It
should spirit the corpse it. Anyway.
that's okay. That went very, very smoothly. So next month we're gonna talk about Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Woo!
Yeah, and this means that I'm gonna compare this to like this photorealistic CGI movies like the 2019 Lion King, and we're gonna bring in like another like filmmaker who is also a huge fan of Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and we're gonna kind of make a comparison to what Walt Disney produced, animal documentaries, nature documentaries, and some of his animated movies that anthropomorphize animals, like the classic example, Bambi. But I also found out that there's a book called Perry by the same author of Bambi, and that one was also optioned by Walt Disney, but he turned that into a nature documentary, like a live action nature documentary.
Nice. I like that.
And I also found that the Shaggy Dog, which if you remember Shaggy Dog, that also shares the same root with Bambi because they're based on a book by the author of Bambi.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yes, we're gonna talk about that. So
I can't wait. I love Jonathan Livingston Seagull. It's got a lot of history.
Yeah. So this is where I'm gonna ask, like, if something like Jonathan Livingston Seagull today, or would it be more appropriate to doing to use like photorealistic CGI? And I feel like that's exactly what that technology is for, and why the I don't know, let's say that 2019 Lion King movie that everyone hates, would it be better if they just go with the Jonathan Livingston Seagull instead? But we'll see. But so Madzy, thank you for making a time to to us talking about Jodorowsky and Santa Sangre.
I appreciate sitting down and talking with you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yep. All right.
All right. Later.
Anyway, have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
You just listened to Reanimate This podcast. Santa Sangre is currently distributed by Severin Films. It's available on streaming, including, as of today, on Tubi for free with ads. Ultra high-definition Blu-ray copies of this movie are available on Severin Films' website. The opening theme music is Wanderlust by Celeste. The ad break music is Early Riser by Kevin MacLeod. And the ending theme music is Arizona Green Tea by Stuffy Doll. Please support their works on Bandcamp. The links are in the description.